Step into the arena of minds. On this channel, every move is a clash of strategy, every sacrifice a turning point, and every game a battle for glory. Watch two players push the limits of creativity and calculation, as we bring you the drama, suspense, and excitement of chess like never before. WesleySo opens with nf3, a calm but purposeful knight march that stakes a claim to the center, while Wesley eyes flexible, heroic maneuvers like a general sizing up the battlefield. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies with df5, striking at the center immediately, and daring Wesley to commit while Son prepares solid pawn structure and counterplay on the dark squares. WesleySo plays g3, intent on fianchettoing the bishop and building a resilient Kingside fortress. Wesley's setup whispers long-term pressure and positional cunning, not immediate fireworks. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son answers nf6, developing a knight to contest e4 and d5, signaling Son's readiness to fight for central squares and meet Wesley's calm with active pieces. WesleySo brings out bg2, completing the Kingside fianchetto and aiming that long-range bishop at Son's center. Wesley's bishop sings danger along the egg-han diagonal. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son plays Kingside, a solid pawn move to shore up d5 and prepare a future d5. d4 push or b5 expansion. Son keeps his position compact and patient. WesleySo castles 0-0, stepping his king to safety and connecting the rooks. Wesley sells confidence, saying, "I'm ready to fight from a safe base with battlefield composure." Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son develops bg4, pinning Wesley's knight and injecting tension into the position. Son toys with the pin, hoping to provoke weaknesses or concessions. WesleySo replies d3, reinforcing the center and freeing the dark-squared bishop, while Wesley keeps flexible plans for central breaks and a Kingside shuffle. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son plays e6, solidifying the pawn chain and preparing to develop his light-squared bishop. Son builds a fortress, patient and unafraid of Wesley's looming pressure. WesleySo develops nbd2, connecting pieces and preparing to reroute the knight. Wesley's moves are pragmatic and hungry, subtle setup before the storm he plans to unleash. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son answers b7, finishing development and eyeing Kingside safety. Son prepares to castle and keep the position tidy against Wesley's simmering threats. WesleySo advances e4, punching for central space with decisive intent. Wesley's pawn thrust smells of ambition, a clear signal he's switching from setup to aggressive play. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son castles 0-0, tucking his king away and saying he's ready to contest the center, both kings now poised for the coming melee. WesleySo plays Rionan, placing the rook behind the e-pawn and lining up for central action. Wesley's coordination hums like a war engine revving up. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies nbd7, reinforcing f5 and c5 squares while readying to reassign the knight. Son keeps his pieces flexible, avoiding unnecessary weaknesses. WesleySo pushes h3, a prophylactic pawn to chase away the bishop and create luft. Wesley's small detail work reflects his methodical dominance and long-term vision. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son retreats br5, keeping the bishop active on the long diagonal and provoking Wesley to commit. Son prefers pressure and piece activity over dusty safety. WesleySo strikes with e5, a bold pawn thrust that crashes into Son's setup and opens lines. Wesley's tempo gains smells of initiative and a drive to break through. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son responds N8, a retreat with purpose, rerouting the knight to defend key squares, and prepare countermeasures against Wesley's swelling Kingside tide. WesleySo pushes G4, grabbing space and chasing down Son's bishop. Wesley's Kingside becomes a cauldron as he cranks up, attacking chances with aggressive pawn storms. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son retreats Bg6, keeping the bishop alive while dodging the storm. Son's pieces skitter back like survivors, ready to counter once Wesley overextends. WesleySo reroutes Nf1, bringing a knight back to support G-pawn advances in central control. Wesley's knight redeployment smells of deep calculation and imminent tactical fireworks. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son plays Nc7, repositioning his knight to influence d5 and b5 squares, while Son quietly seeks counterplay on the queenside and center. WesleySo maneuvers Nga3, heading the knight toward the action with intent to leap into the attack. Wesley's pieces coalesce around the kingside like an avenging legion. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son pushes c5, striking at the center and trying to pry open lines. Son answers Wesley's kingside ambition with counterpressure in the center. WesleySo develops b4, actively placing his bishop on a central diagonal and threatening to dominate dark squares. Wesley's bishop joins the chorus of attacking pieces. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son responds d4, a sharp pawn thrust that closes the center and forces immediate tactical choices. Son slams a door in Wesley's face while seeking imbalance. WesleySo leaps N4, centralizing his knight with aggression and aiming to exploit outposts. Wesley's knight charges like a veteran soldier into contested territory. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies Nd5, contesting the powerful e3, c3 squares and challenging Wesley's centralized knight. Son fights for space with resolute counterpressure. WesleySo plays bg3, retreating the bishop to safety while keeping its scope alive. Wesley's calm repositioning preserves attacking potential and keeps the pressure coil. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son brings Resate, putting a rook on the open file and threatening to activate on the c-file. Son's heavy pieces prepare to contest every inch. WesleySo pushes h4, signaling renewed kingside aggression and intent to rip open lines. Wesley's energy turns up a notch as he hunts for decisive breakthroughs. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son answers h6, a waiting move to blunt Wesley's g5 ambitions and create luft. Son attempting to stem the tide with a defensive breath. WesleySo storms g5, hammering the pawn forward and exploding kingside dynamics. Wesley's g-pawn becomes a battering ram, threatening to pry open Son's defenses. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son captures h6c5, opening the h-file and accepting structural damage to blunt Wesley's pawn storm. Son trades structure for temporary respite. WesleySo sacrifices with nfxc5, capturing on g5 and throwing a knight into the fray. Wesley's piece is hurled forward like a blazing hero cutting through enemy lines. Nguyen Ngoc Son pushes c4, chasing lines and trying to complicate the center while blocking Wesley's pieces. Son seeks counterplay by locking the center tactically. WesleySo responds dxec4, grabbing the pawn on c4 and prying open the center. Wesley's capture aims to free lines for his pieces like a strategist clearing obstacles. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son returns. c4, sacrificing an exchange into the center, but grabbing material and activating a rook. Son gambles for activity, throwing wood on the fire. WesleySo plays b3, challenging Son's active rook and forcing choices, while Wesley prepares to open lines against Son's king. Wesley's calm undermines Son's temporary gains. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son retreats c7, pulling the rook back to safety and keeping it on the c-file for future pressure. Son salvages resources with practical defense. WesleySo advances. a3, preventing back-rank nuisances and preparing b4 expansion. Wesley's small pawn move has big strategic teeth, tightening Son's options. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son captures bxk5, taking on g5 and winning material while opening more chaos. Son grabs the pawn but steps into Wesley's trap-laden terrain. WesleySo recaptures axek5, restoring material balance and opening the h-file. Wesley's pawn capture fuels attacking chances and screams for rook and queen invasion. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son jumps, nc5, sending a knight to an active post, and eyeing b3 and d3 squares. Son seeks to stir counter-threats amid the chaos. WesleySo maneuvers nf6, a thunderous knight check that slices into Son's position and forces structural concessions. Wesley's piece invades like a champion, seizing destiny. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son responds gxf6, accepting material losses to block the check and try to halt Wesley's momentum. Son's pawn becomes a desperate shield. WesleySo plays gxf6, recapturing with purpose and opening lines towards Son's king. Wesley's pawns transform into battering rams, amplifying his attacking chorus. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son moves c7, trying to dodge checks and stabilize the king, while Son's position reels under Wesley's relentless pressure. WesleySo seizes qx4, grabbing a central pawn and freeing his queen to partake in the attack. Wesley's queen leap heightens the pressure like thunder before the storm. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies right, swinging a rook to defend the back rank and steady the king's shelter. Son scrambles to put out fires as Wesley's tempo surges. WesleySo plays bf3, bringing a bishop into the fray to target Son's weakened light squares and coordinate with queen and rooks. Wesley's pieces lock onto the kill. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son captures f6, taking on f6 and removing Wesley's powerful knight while hoping to blunt Wesley's attacking momentum with material gain. WesleySo counters qx, simplifying material and trading queens with clinical precision, while keeping initiative. Wesley trades when it favors his clearer path to victory. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son responds rx, recapturing the queen and centralizing his rook while trying to cling to defensive resources. Son fights to remain in the game. WesleySo plays xf6, recapturing on f6 and opening more lines to Son's king. Wesley's pawn becomes a spearhead, pressing the advantage with ruthless efficiency. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son moves c8, bringing a rook to contest the c-file and shore up the back rank. Son attempts counterplay by activating heavy pieces. WesleySo advances b4, gaining queenside space and trying to restrict Son's knights while creating passed pawn possibilities. Wesley shores up his position and presses everywhere. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies nafur, hopping to the rim with the knight to create threats on b2 and c3, while seeking tactical skirmishes. WesleySo plays kg2, calmly sidestepping any lurking tactics, and centralizing his king for the endgame, while keeping his attacking battery ready for final strikes. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son captures bxct2, picking off a piece and aiming to create counter chances with material, but Son's grab opens lines that favor Wesley's active pieces. WesleySo responds reconnais, bringing a rook to the c-file and preparing to contest Son's rooks, while Wesley's coordination hums toward decisive pressure. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son plays bf5, developing a bishop to challenge Wesley's control and try to trade off attackers, Son fighting to blunt Wesley's domination. WesleySo plays roan, delivering a checking rook that jolts Son's king and forces awkward squares. Wesley's orchestration of pieces resembles a master conductor calling the final movement. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies kg6, stepping the king into the fray desperately and hoping to escape checks while Son's position teeters under Wesley's onslaught. WesleySo brings b5, placing his bishop on a dominant central square to choke Son's position and threaten tactical nets. Wesley's pieces tighten the noose with heroic precision. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son responds right, shifting a rook back to defend and scramble for breathing room, while Son tries to blunt the tactical storm. WesleySo plays ragoni, swinging another rook into the Kingside assault and piling up heavy pieces. Wesley doubles down, every piece screaming for the decisive blow. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son answers bd3, placing a bishop deep to block lines and hope for exchanges. Son attempts to erect barriers, but Wesley's momentum is overwhelming. WesleySo captures bx7, snatching a piece and increasing material advantage while maintaining attacking threats. Wesley's surgical capture looks both joyful and merciless. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies Asegate, trying counterplay by activating his rook on the g-file and contesting Wesley's onslaught, but his forces feel stretched thin. WesleySo plays Arxide, capturing on height and ripping open Son's last defensive barrier. Wesley's sacrifice-like capture reads like a heroic climax, bold and game-deciding. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son recaptures Arxide, taking back on height and trying to stay alive materially, but his shelter has been rent, and Wesley's attackers still roar. WesleySo plays Fowler, advancing a pawn to open more lines and solidify control. Wesley's energy surges as he orchestrates a final relentless wave towards Son's ruins. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies Ra4, attempting to create counter-checks and nuisance moves with his rook while Son seeks any resource to complicate Wesley's path. WesleySo moves kg3, bringing his king up with fearless intent and coordinating remaining pieces for the finish. Wesley's king march embodies fearless confidence in his victory. Nguyen Ngoc Truong Son replies R5, shuffling the rook in hope of perpetual threats, but Son's resources are dwindling as Wesley's control tightens like a vice. WesleySo ends with bf3, a final precise bishop placement that seals the position. Wesley stands triumphant, the hero of the day who converts advantage into glorious victory. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to bring you even more exciting chess games. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.